Hey guys, it's Inigo here and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to make a video about the weather. The reason for this is because it is winter now here in Finland. It's December the 1st. A lot of snow has now fallen over the last sort of week or two and it's not going away. We've got a lot less daylight here now than we had before. So yeah, why not make a video about the weather? As someone from the UK, I'm not from Finland, the weather here is very different. You can definitely notice the difference. And I'd say if you're not from Finland or somewhere close to Finland, the weather right now is very cold. Obviously, if you're a Finn, it's probably not even that cold for you right now. It's going to get colder maybe like after Christmas. But for me, this is very cold and it takes a bit of adjustment. But yeah, another reason as well why I want to make this video now is I watched a football match yesterday outside, like in a stadium. Maybe I'll try and put some videos of like weather. Maybe this side's better. I don't know. Maybe here. Okay. I'll put some videos like on the screen, maybe even while I'm talking, to kind of show what the weather is like in Finland. And I'll also show some videos from the football match that I watched yesterday, where there was just so much snow on the pitch. The game would never have gone. It wouldn't have even started in England. The fact that the game started and finished in Finland is crazy. They even had to bring on these tractors to take the snow off of the football pitch, and it stopped the match for like 15 minutes while they took the snow off. And there was like big piles of snow right near the away supporters. So I watched HJK versus Aberdeen, who are from Scotland, and the Aberdeen fans were picking up the snow because there was big. Hopefully, I'm playing this on the screen right now. There were big piles of snow, and the Aberdeen fans were picking up the snow and throwing snowballs towards the Helsinki team's players. And even I managed to catch Aberdeen's goal, sort of. I wasn't trying to video a goal, but it just so happened that I caught it. And then you'll see like Aberdeen fans jumping onto the snow, like jumping out of their seats over the barriers, like into the snow. It's crazy. Like it would never ever happen in the UK, but I'm sure in Finland it's just super normal. And I was talking to a guy who was sat next to me who was Finnish, and he was just saying like, have these guys never seen snow before? So yeah, like that probably explains a lot. But yeah, okay, like I've written a few things down. I guess the focus of my videos will probably be like winter and summer. Those are the two like most prominent seasons, and I've probably got more to talk about with those two, but I'll talk about like all of the different seasons, and I've written down some notes here which are like official stats from the internet, but I'll also give some of my experience, and I will compare the weather here to my experience in the UK as well, just a little bit. Also, just to say, like, I'm not trying to offend someone if I say anything about the weather here. I'm not saying it's good or bad or whatever, so please don't be offended. Obviously, if you're easily offended, then go ahead. But I'm not trying to be offensive. But okay, so let's start with some notes that I've written down. So apparently, so winter usually starts around mid-October to the beginning of November. This varies, and all of the stuff that I will say from this data, it varies like where you are in Finland. So the further south you go, the less extreme it is. The more north you go, the more extreme it is, and that kind of continues throughout the whole year. So when it's winter, it's more extreme in the north. When it's summer, it's more extreme in the north. So everything that I say, like just try and remember the north is going to experience a bit more of an extreme weather than the south of Finland. So so usually it starts between mid-October beginning of November. It will start earlier in the north, and usually winter will last between 100 and 200 days in Finland. And again, if you're in the north, it's probably more likely to be around 200, and in the south it's closer to 100. And funnily enough, when I was like living in England before I moved here, one of my work colleagues did actually ask me like something like, do they have summer in Finland? Like, or does it get hot in Finland? And it sounds like really dumb now that I live here, but as someone that's from the UK and is not from Finland and has never been to Finland, it's not a totally like crazy thought to have. Like I had no idea like what weather it would be here in Finland. I probably wouldn't have asked that question, but still, like I think that just shows like how in England we don't really know. Maybe me and my friends are a little bit stupid, probably, but yeah, like we have no idea what it's like in Finland. But yeah, so winter usually lasts between 100 and 200 days, and we'll get to summer. It does actually get hot here. It doesn't feel like it's gonna get hot at all. And when it's not summer, you're thinking like, when's it going to come? But then when summer is here, like you really can feel it. But going away from these stats and these statistics, for someone that doesn't live in Finland or hasn't been to Finland yet, or somewhere near to Finland, like maybe other Scandinavian countries, Nordic countries, essentially in the winter, I would compare to England, and I'll say it's usually like 5 or 10 degrees colder throughout the winter than it is in the UK. And I would say you probably get about like 2 or 3, and this I'm comparing like Helsinki to the UK. And when I say the UK, I mean England and probably like the southern half of England. Probably if you go up to Scotland and northern England, the experience changes a bit. You'll probably have colder temperatures in the north of England too. But from my experience in the UK, you probably get 2 to 3 hours a day more sunlight in the winter. So I would say right now, it's 1st of December, the sun probably comes up around 9 a.m. at the moment, and it probably goes down, this is just a guess, around like 3 or 4 p.m. at the moment, which I don't think is massively different to the UK. Maybe it's like it might even be 2 or 3 hours, not 3 or 4, 2 or 3 hours different. Now, something that I've written down, which is kind of like quite a big thing and not something that you know or I ever knew before. Something I've heard of but I didn't really know much about is that in the most northern part of Finland, so around the Lapland area, there will be 51 days a year, roughly every year, where those people don't have any sunlight. So the sun doesn't rise for 51 days. And I remember when I was in Finland and I was talking to my mother-in-law, and we were reading the newspaper and we were looking at the weather. This was around Christmas. We were looking at the weather in different parts of Finland, and it would say like the sun will rise in Helsinki at like 9 and go down at 3 or 4. And we would look around different parts of Finland and it said something like similar. And then we looked at Lapland or somewhere around Lapland, maybe Rovaniemi or something like that. But I'm not sure. I don't want to say Rovaniemi because I could be wrong, but somewhere very north in Finland. And we looked at like the sun rising and falling and how much daylight they're going to have. And it just said, instead of saying it was going to rise at 9 and it's going to come down at 3 or 4, it just said next sunlight, like, I don't know, 6 weeks from today, something like that. Or something like, it didn't say anything at all. And it was completely like a shock just to like, you're reading all of these different sunrises and sunsets from all these different parts, and then it just says, yeah, sun's gonna rise on this date, like in like 3 or 4 or 5 weeks from now. like completely crazy to even think about. And I've never been to the north of Finland at all. I've been maybe 3 hours north of Helsinki, which I mean maybe is central Finland, but I've never been north. So if there's anyone from North Finland that lives in North Finland, please leave a comment and tell us exactly what it's like and how you find it living in those conditions. Another point that I've got is, so typically here in Finland, from about the second week of winter here in Finland, there's like constant snow on the ground. And at the start of winter, it's really nice and beautiful when you start to see the snow, and it's all like very pretty and very white, and it's not dirty yet. And towards the end of the winter, you just have all of these snow piles that get pushed in like on the sides of the pavements, and it starts to look like pretty ugly because it starts to get mixed with like leaves and like dirt and mud and stones, and it's just this big like black pile of snow. So towards the end of the winter, like it can be pretty gross, but at least still for now it's quite pretty, and it's lots of white snow. And what else do you see? Like also kids will start to wear these like big onesies because it's so cold, and this is usually small kids. They just wear these big overalls like onesies to keep them warm. And something else which is really cool is like parents will have the sledges, and they'll carry their kids to school on sledges. I will put a video here on the screen because I did actually take a video of someone doing this. Like I probably shouldn't, I didn't ask or anything, but yeah, I'll put it on the screen. Like it's pretty cool to see, and I can imagine if I was a kid, I would find this super fun. So yeah, that's something else that happens. And also another thing is like you start to know it's winter because you start bringing stuff into your house from your shoes. Like throughout the summer, you come home, you take off your shoes, you put them away, you don't really bring anything in. You know it's winter because you start bringing in the stones and like old leaves that have fallen off the trees and twigs, and just everything gets stuck in your shoes. And then like by my door entrance is always just like sticks and stones and leaves. So then that's kind of for me, that's like a first sign of like, oh, okay, like we're getting to winter now. Okay, and then like another fact that I've got here, apparently the coldest recorded temperature, it didn't give me an exact temperature when I looked online on a particular website, but it's somewhere between minus 45 and minus 50 degrees. I cannot even imagine what that's like. Like I have no words for what that's like. But again, if anyone has experienced anything close to that, like what is that like? Like how do you live in that kind of temperature? I have no idea. But here in Helsinki, where I live in southern Finland, apparently the lowest ever recorded temperature was 34 degrees, which is still crazily cold. And that happened in 1987. For context, from my experience, I don't know if I've really had anything more than minus 15. But I've like when it's minus 15, it is very cold, and like I notice like my hairs start to freeze if I'm outside for a long time. So I like to go for walks, and sometimes my hair will like freeze and my eyelashes will freeze. So, and even like, I don't know, my eyes feel like they're getting like dry or something. Maybe it's just like psychological, but it's pretty hard. The first couple of weeks of winter, like especially, not especially, but this year as well, the first 2 weeks just felt, or maybe week, 2 weeks. It's hard to really know how long winter's actually been here now. But yeah, like first week or 2 weeks, it was really hard because you notice the temperature change, and it gets really dark, and it's a little bit depressing, and you really have to adjust in terms of the clothes that you're wearing. So instead of wearing, I mean, I see a lot of Finnish people still wearing stuff that I could never wear and survive out here. But you have to start wearing like double pairs of like pants, like the long pants, I even wear like 2 pairs of socks, like extra t-shirts. You have to wear a hat. So in England in the winter, wearing a hat or wearing gloves on your hands or a scarf, for the most part, those are kind of like fashion decisions. They're not really like super practical. They're not necessary. In Finland, if you don't wear a hat, you don't wear gloves, like you will freeze. Like you'll lose like a finger probably if you're outside too long without gloves. Like it is crazily cold. You like gloves and hat is necessity. Like you're crazy. I mean, maybe some Finnish people do it because they are used to it, but for me, like not wearing gloves and a hat in this temperature is insane. It's absolutely insane, and it's not like a fashion thing. Like it is essential here. Those are essential bits of clothing, and like the jacket that I have. So I have like a fairly padded jacket. In England, that is enough. I could wear a t-shirt and that jacket, and I would be good the whole winter. In Finland, with that jacket, I need like a jumper and at least like 2 t-shirts underneath the jumper. And you need like woolen jumpers really for it to be warm enough. It's not like super cold right now. We've had a few days where we've gotten to about -10 and it's warmed up slightly. So we're around -5 at the moment on the 1st of December in Helsinki. But I know it's going to start getting back up to like -10 and maybe it'll go to like maybe -15. I'm not quite sure exactly how cold it's going to get. I know I said the coldest ever recorded was -34. I don't think that's like realistic, at least from the winters that I've had here before. I don't even know if I've been in -20. Maybe I have, but I can't remember. Definitely like -15. But yeah, like for someone that's from the UK, these numbers just are crazy. Like in the UK, if it snows for like, I don't know, like 3, 4, 5 days, it's chaos. Like nothing runs, the buses don't run, the trains don't run, your water pipes will freeze in your house. It's just a mess. Like schools don't like run a lot of the time. Like if it's snowing, you don't go to school. Whereas here in Finland, everything just carries on. Like for someone that isn't from Finland, if you were to see how things just function perfectly well in the winter, it is like crazy. Like it's just crazy. Like it's crazy. Like I can't really explain it, but it's just a shock to see how well things run in Finland during the winter. When in England, if it's like just snowing for a few days, like everything is a mess. Nothing works. But okay, like that's winter. I'll try and think if there's anything else before I go on to my next like season and next bit of data. I guess I've probably covered most of it, but essentially, and I'll try and make sure, or hopefully I've already added some videos to the screen to show you what it's like. But as you can imagine, it's like just a lot of snow, very dark, very cold. But it is really nice as well. So in England, even though you have 4 seasons, you can't really tell the difference between the seasons really. But in Finland, the nice thing is you do experience like 4 different seasons. And it is like the snow is, even though it's really dark outside, the snow brings more like light. And especially around Christmas, like it does feel really nice. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. I do actually like it, but the first few weeks, you just have to dress better. So now I'm dressing better, like I'm enjoying it. But the first few weeks I was super miserable. But okay, that's winter. And yeah, like I said, not a lot of daylight, like a lot less daylight, very cold, snow. The next season is spring, which typically lasts between 45 and 65 days. And apparently temperatures range between 0 and 10 degrees. And I didn't actually write dates for this, but I would say, what would I say? Maybe like March till May, something like that. March till May, let's say. There is something in Finland called like takatalvi, which essentially is like the winter kind of starts to go away and then it comes back. So I think it can be hard to really know like when winter is actually over. I came here I moved here in February of 2023, and it was kind of seeming like, oh yeah, like winter is still definitely here. And I moved there at the end of February, and it did take quite a while after I moved here to really feel like the winter's over. But yeah, spring, there's not a lot to talk about. It's just kind of the bit between winter and summer. I don't really have a lot to say, but lasts apparently between 45 and 65 days. Okay, the next season is summer, my favourite season. I can't wait for summer. Summer in Finland typically runs between May or June until August. So this varies between southern and northern Finland, and summer stereotypically is characterised by a lot of daylight. So whereas in the winter, the UK will have like 2 or 3 more hours of sunlight, in the summer, Finland will have like 2 or 3 or even more hours of daylight. So if I compare Helsinki, I think typically it's like 2, 3, maybe 4 extra hours of sunlight every day. And at the peak of the summer, I would say there's probably only 4 hours a day where there's no sunlight. So it can be really hard to sleep. You need to have like the really good blinds that block out daylight. I can't even remember the name. Blackout blinds, yeah. It can be really hard to sleep because it's just so bright. But it's really cool that you can like stay out as late as you want, and no matter what time you go to sleep, no matter what time you wake up in the middle of the summer, it's always daylight, which is really cool. And it stays quite warm. Like it doesn't really get too cold, even though it's nighttime, because the sun is still out. It doesn't really get too cold that late. And what else? The temperature is really nice actually. It never gets too hot. I'd say it's roughly like mid 20s. And it can be really, really nice. I actually think in some ways, even though it doesn't get as hot here as it does in England in the summer, it can feel hotter. I don't even really know why, but it can definitely feel a lot hotter. And it's, I guess because the sun's out a lot, it's hard to like just avoid the sun. And I feel like I have to work harder to like avoid being too hot here somehow. But Finland is like such an amazing country full of nature and like wildlife, wilderness, forests, rivers. So summer is such a nice season in Finland. I love the summer. Like even in England, I enjoy it, but it's so like I love being outside. It's just such a nice place, like to see water and like wild animals and grass and trees. If you've not been to Finland in the summer and you like being outside, then you have to come and experience it. And the nice thing is, like a lot of people in Finland have their own summer cottages. So instead of going abroad during the summer, people will go to their own summer cottages, which will be somewhere usually by a lake or some water. And they just have a really nice time. It's really quiet, peaceful. You don't have to worry about like finding privacy because it's like there's plenty of space everywhere. Yes, it's really nice. The only downside of the summer is you start to get lots of mosquitoes and black flies, which will like eat you to death. So as beautiful and nice as it is, and I do really, really want summer to be here already, just thinking about the mosquitoes and the black flies makes it easier for me to wait for the summer. But yeah, like there can be quite a lot of bugs. There's obviously, because there's a lot of nature here, then obviously you're going to have a lot of bugs too. So what did I say? So in northern Finland, so this is like the contrast of having no daylight. In northern Finland, roughly 73 days every year, they have constant sunlight. 73 days every year, constant sunlight. So I said it's hard to sleep in Helsinki when you get about 4 hours a day without sun. In North Finland, you have to go 73 days with constant sun. So no matter what time of day it is or night, it's constantly sunny. Again, I've not experienced it, so if you're from northern Finland, how do you manage it? Let me know. And what do you think about it? Are you used to it? Were you born with that? Did you have to get used to it? And how do you get used to that? That would be really interesting. From the data that I've looked at, the temperatures rarely in Finland go over 30, which matches my experience. And the highest ever recorded in Helsinki was 31.6 degrees, which was in 2010. Another interesting thing about the summer, or maybe just weather in Finland overall, is there's quite a lot of thunderstorms here. So in England, we do get thunderstorms, but not loads. And I think the thunderstorms here are a bit more heavy. The thunderstorms in England are quite light and they're quite rare. You don't get them that often. But apparently in Finland, during the summer, you can get thunderstorms roughly between 4 and 14 times every summer. And typically, it's still going to be hot, but you just get suddenly lots of rain will come down, and quite heavy thunderstorm, which is kind of different to the UK. I'd say maybe to compare in the UK, it's definitely hotter. I lived in London for a few years. In London, it can get super, super hot and humid. It's just lots of brick and city. And if you're on public transport, so if you're on the UK version of the metro, so the underground, if you're on the underground in the summer, it gets very, very hot, extremely hot. So probably in the UK, the summer, you're going to get a little bit less daylight, but the heat is going to be a bit higher. Not massively different, I would say. But the nice thing about Finland is there's so much nature and nature that it's really nice to enjoy it, and it's really nice to be outside. Obviously there's nature in the UK too, but I would say that it's a bit nicer here in Finland, or actually a lot nicer, but don't tell people in England because I will go back at some point. But okay, that's the summer over, and again, hopefully I've added some pictures to show what the summer is like, because it is so nice here. And then the next season is autumn, and supposedly that kind of runs between August and October, and this will obviously vary depending on whether you're in southern Finland or northern Finland. And the daily temperatures in autumn are typically below 10 degrees. And I probably don't have much to say. Again, it's just the bit of time that lasts between the summer and the winter. Not got a lot that interesting to say. But hey, that's my video on the weather here in Finland. I'm sure I could probably add some more information, but hopefully that's interesting for people that haven't experienced all of the seasons in Finland yet, or people that haven't even been to Finland yet, just to kind of hear what it's like. Because like I said, one of my friends asked me when I was living in England, essentially do you have summer in Finland? So there are some people that have absolutely no idea, and I mean I had no idea too. So hopefully that's interesting for people that haven't experienced it yet. And like I said, if you live in Finland and you have experienced these things, especially people from northern Finland, please leave a comment and let me know what it's like living in northern Finland, especially in the winter and the summer. How do you manage it? How extreme does it get? Do you like it? Leave your comments. But thank you so much for watching. I hope it's been useful, and I hope to see you again soon.